In 2015, world leaders adopted Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development Goals, focusing on 5 key elements, also called Ps, namely people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships.
We need to find ways and solutions to speed up the process of developing sustainable economies in line with our sustainable goals to ensure that no country is left behind as we strive to achieve our developmental objectives.
This was followed in 2019 by a reform of the United Nations development system aimed at bringing more coherent, accountable, and effective support to help countries to achieve the SDGs. For over 50 years, the United Nations has been a trusted partner to the people and the Kingdom of Eswatini. Under the leadership of the United Nations Resident Coordinator, the United Nations Development System in Eswatini is mandated to advance Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development Goals through targeted programs and other interventions of UN agencies, funds, and programs implemented in collaboration with a range of partners such as line ministries, NGOs, communities, the private sector, and others. In December 2020, the United Nations Assistance Framework, commonly referred to as UNDAF for the cycle 2016 to 2020, is coming to an end. With the 2019 reform, UNDAF has since been renamed the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework in order to accurately reflect the nature of the contemporary relationship between the United Nations and the government. The United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework is the most important instrument for planning and implementation of the United Nations development activities for a 5-year cycle at country level. The United Nations in Eswatini, represented by the Resident Coordinator, Ms. Natalie Ndongose, and the Government of Eswatini, represented by His Excellency the Right Honourable Prime Minister Ambrose Mandvulo Dlamini, signed the Unsdcf for the cycle 2021 to 2025.
We reiterate our commitment to serve the people of Eswatini and to collaborate with the government. To collaborate with the government for change. We need to see change here as we want to see the same change around the world. Transformation and development. We commit to live up to the expectations placed in our organization, a trusted partner indeed of the people of Eswatini. We intend to work with each of you in a better coordinated, more integrated, more coherent, more inclusive, and more accountable manner to achieve Agenda 2030.
Today, we are reassured of the thriving partnership between the Kingdom of Eswatini and the United Nations. I can say without fear of contradiction that we are ready to continue working in collaboration to achieve a better future for all. I would like to commend the United Nations Resident Coordinator, heads of UN agencies, and the entire UN family, as well as the Minister of Economic Planning and Development and his team for leading the process and consultations that have culminated into the development of this very strategic framework.
The signing signifies the country's commitment to the Unsdcf and will make Agenda 2030 and His Majesty's Vision 2022 a reality. The framework represents the globally shared vision to end poverty, reduce inequalities, tackle climate change, and enable sustained economic growth.
We are thankful to all the partners who assisted us in the formulation of this major instrument. Eswatini is one of the first 10 countries on the continent that have a UNSDCF in place. We are grateful for your assistance and we trust that this instrument will bring transformative change in Eswatini for the cycle 2021-2025, and which is in the midst and in the aftermath of COVID-19.
The Unsdcf defines how the UN system in Eswatini will support the implementation of the country's priorities highlighted in the National Development Plan, the Eswatini Strategic Roadmap, His Majesty's Vision 2022, and most recently, the post-COVID-19 Economic Recovery Plan. The overall goal of the Unsdcf 2021 to 2025 is to support a prosperous, just, and resilient Eswatini where no one is left behind. The 2021-2025 Unsdcf is structured around 3 strategic priority areas and 4 main outcomes. Strategic Priority 1 addresses the prosperity goals and targets in Eswatini, where the United Nations commits to contribute to growing a strong, inclusive, and transformative economy. Its outcome statement reads as follows. By 2025, women, men, and youth, including marginalized persons, contribute to and benefit from economic progress through greater access to decent employment, equitable social economic opportunities, sustainable enterprise opportunities, as well as resilient, financially sustainable social protection systems. Issues of support to an enabling environment for business, strengthening of effective and responsive social protection systems, economic data, incentives, and measures to stimulate investment in the economy will be addressed in Outcome 1. Strategic Priority 2 addresses the people's goals and targets in Eswatini, where the UN, under 2 outcomes, commits, firstly, to invest in human resources and social development. In this outcome statement, the United Nations envisioned that by 2025, boys, girls, women, and men, especially the most vulnerable, benefit from equitable access to inclusive gender transformation, effective and efficient quality social services, lifelong learning, and market-relevant skills. Issues of costed policies and plans in the health sector, quality and relevant health nutrition, HIV and NCDs care, quality teaching and learning, and quality education services at all levels are addressed under this outcome. And under Outcome 3, under the People's Strategic Priority Area, the United Nations in Eswatini commits to contribute to accountable governance, justice, and human rights. In this outcome statement, the UN envisioned that by 2025, oversight bodies and government institutions at national and regional levels operate in an independent, participatory, and accountable manner, ensuring equal access to justice and services with a systematic, participatory implementation and report mechanisms for human rights obligations and SDGs with a focus on leaving no one behind. Finally, Strategic Priority 3 addresses the planet goals and targets in Eswatini, where the UN commits to strengthening natural resources management, climate resilience, and environmental sustainability.
The development of the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2021-2025 has been a very participative process with inputs from the government, non-governmental organizations, development partners, private sector, research and academic institutions, trade unions, as well as the media. I believe the Joint National Steering Committee, which was set up at the beginning of the process in 2019 and had representations from all stakeholders, ensured that progress was made and results are achieved despite the onset of the pandemic, COVID-19, at the beginning of 2020. I take this opportunity to thank and congratulate the United Nations and all partners for the quality of work achieved in producing United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework in record time.
We will be working with the line ministries as usual, but also with non-traditional partners. We will go down to the level of the communities. We will work with the private sector. We will work with the civil society. We will work with individuals. We are in this decade of action where we really need all partners, wherever they are, to actually join us towards advancing the 2030 agenda and the 17 development goals that our world leaders had actually defined as a means for the world to come out of poverty, hunger, and really ensure that the next generation have a better future.